Hey, welcome to the training. I'm Dr. Kate Walker. I wanted to give you a quick intro because this training had some technical difficulties and our guest expert had to pre-record the training. So what you're going to see is the pre-recorded training, and that's with Jenny Melrose, who's going to talk about all things SEO and helping us understand how Google works. Then you'll see it switch to a recording that I made with the live audience, the live virtual audience, when this webinar was given in February. And I'm in a hotel room because I am presenting at the TASES conference in February. Then you'll see a third recording that I'm looking like this because there was part of that recording that did not get recorded. So what you're going to get today is a comprehensive, I promise it's comprehensive and understandable recording that will help you get answers to how SEO works, how to use it in your counseling practices, and hopefully get those blogs and content out there so you can promote yourself. Plus, I do cover ethics regarding supervision and your own website copy, use of email, protected health information. So you can get the ethics and supervision CE for watching this asynchronous course. So thank you for watching, and without further ado. Hey, it's Dr. Kate Walker, and I'm so excited to have Jenny Melrose on today to talk to us about SEO and marketing. And Jenny is more than just an SEO expert. She is my business coach, and I think she's marvelous. And I can say without a doubt, without blinking, she has literally doubled my business income in the past 18 months. Hands down, made me more efficient with my marketing. And anything that you see about me out on the interwebs is because she has taught me how to make sure I cut through the clutter and I get in front of your faces. So Jenny is the owner of, and I'm putting on my glasses, influencer entrepreneur. She's a blogger, she's a podcaster, she's an influencer. So Jenny, tell us anything else I'm missing here.
Yes. No, Kate, thank you, first of all, so much for having me come on and speak to your people. I'm super excited to be able to speak to more counselors. I think that their services are so needed, having had a daughter that has had all sorts of different services and needed that extra help. So I'm excited to be able to help them figure out how to market better so they can get out there and just find the people that are needing to find them. I, like you said, am a business coach. I work one-on-one with people, but also have group programs. And my kind of superpower is marketing and understanding, kind of like you said, to how to cut through all of the crap and figure out what's going to work best for you and what you are trying to accomplish with your business, which can be very different from one person to the next.
Absolutely. And so I came up with some questions to ask you, and unfortunately we did have to record this. So I'm going to be inserting things that will relate to ethics with counselors. So counselors listening to this, I'm going to talk about your website copy, what you have to have, what the state says you have to have. And so you'll see me kind of cut back and forth from the recording. And plus, if I haven't already told you live, I will be taking your live questions because this is a live webinar with a recording. So how cool is that? So the first thing I think at least comes to me, and I hear this a lot. Actually, maybe I noticed this because it's missing from the questions that counselors ask me. How does blogging or creating content relate to SEO and getting found by Google?
Yes. So I think that this is such an important question. And I think it's a lot of people will get scared off by the term blogging because 10 years ago, blogging was you went and you talked about what you ate and what you did that day. And there was definitely just this kind of, it wasn't very professional. It was just people putting up crap. It has very much changed where now when you are blogging, you are creating SEO researched content that you are being able to put out there, trying to solve the problems of your audience in order to attract them to you so that they can see she or he knows all their stuff about this specific topic. They are the expert. They are the one I want to work with. And the way in which you do that is through that content. So a lot of people hear SEO, search engine optimization, they get a little freaked out. Really, all we're talking about is doing keyword research, which means we're looking for terms that your people would put in that they struggle with in order to find you, because you're going to answer that problem. So if you deal with kids that have ADHD, what are those parents putting in? What are those pain points? And I want you to write an article that's going to tell them how to circumvent that problem. My daughter won't get up in the morning. Here's a chore chart. Here's the different things that you can do. 5 tips to get your ADHD child started in the morning. That's a blog. And a lot of people get scared off by that. They assume like a blog, I got to do all these. No, it's a big piece of your marketing. It's putting out that content, because now what happens is when someone goes to Google, that mom, me, goes to Google and puts in, what do I do with my ADHD child that will not get their butt out of bed in the morning? Your article is going to get presented. Google is going to pull it and put it in front of them because you've answered that problem for them. And now once you have done that and they read your article and they're like, oh, they really know their stuff. Now we want to get them onto your email list so that you can continually get in front of them with all of your content, including your paid products and services that you offer.
I love this. So I knew you were going to get to the call to action, right? Okay, after they read it, now what? And counselors all just probably had a little collective shudder when you said, and get them onto your email list, because I know we all kind of go, ooh, I don't like email. This is, I don't know about that. So I know you're going to talk about that. But before we do, I'm going to circle back, because counselors love to talk, maybe right, in terms of counseling, counselor lingo. Like, here's what depression is. Here's what ADHD is. Here's the DSM-5 criteria for, and you're not talking about that, right? I mean, you're talking about what you are looking for on the other side.
Yes, your ideal person. What are they looking for? What are they struggling with? Because you're right, I'm not going to put in those words. I'm not going to tell me the definition of depression. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm saying, these are my symptoms. These are what I'm seeing. How do I circumvent this? What do I do? Those types of things. You can break it down within the article and explain maybe like some of the science behind it, because some of us want some of that research-based information, but you also want to remember, like, who is your typical client that walks into your office? Would they want that? And if the answer is absolutely not, then there's no reason to put it, because that's not your ideal client. They're not going to want that anyways. That's totally going to overwhelm them potentially. But if they do want that, then put in a little bit of it in order to answer that. But again, like, the big key thing that you have to remember is, what problem are you solving? So thinking about your key audience and who it is that you're trying to get into your office, or if you're really smart and you've created a course like Kate is, and it helps that same clientele, because they're coming to you for a reason. But that same mom that has the child with ADHD may want a course that teaches them how to get them programmed and ready to go for the day. And they don't need to have one-on-one services that are going to take time out of their day to drive them to therapy to then be able to go back. And you're only seeing them for an hour once a week. Totally speaking from experience here. I may want a course that says, Mom, you still can do therapy, but here's some things that are going to help you to know what to say if she starts to go off this way or she starts to go off that way. And it can be that course that now you have a paid product. So you're diversifying the income you can make within your counseling business.
So you took me in two places. My brain went two places, right?
Always.
We're going to be, I know right now we're going to have people listening to this who are brand new. And they're like, what do you mean I'm not going to have a first session with these people? I don't want to put them off from Right. But I hear you say so often, how many times do we have to get things in front of people before they'll buy? I mean, this could be the mom who's gotten the first note home from school and they're not really sure. And they're going to give it some time. They're going to talk to their physician first. They're going to talk to their neighbors and their, right. I mean, so how many times do you, I mean, I don't know what you say. I forget. How many times do you have to get stuff in front of people, really, do you think?
Yeah. So people need to see things anywhere from 7 to 8 times. And that is just seeing it, that you offer service. So one time of them like seeing it in Google of like you own a practice is not enough to get them through your doors. In order to get them through your doors, you probably have to have multiple articles that answer that. And maybe you've been lucky enough that you're servicing the public and you're in a Facebook group, a mom Facebook group, and you get mentioned that way. It's that all of the different ways in which you can get in there 7 to 8 times. And I think I really want to emphasize the fact that it's not that you're not going to do one-on-one counseling with them. You still are going to do one-on-one counseling with them, but let's make more money than that and help them with some of the things that they need help with outside of the practice, especially if you're dealing with kids or you're dealing with a husband and wife. Like there's certain things that the partner or the parent need to have as far as skills that are going to be able to help them with the patient that you have. And I think that that's really key. And I don't know, Kate, if this is ever, I have a psych background, so that's actually where my degree is. I don't think I've ever told you that. But
Not
that's where my
surprised.
brain goes. Yes.
Okay, so tell me some of the things, because you've mentioned pain points, and I know that's not a term that we necessarily think of when we're creating content. I'm speaking as a counselor now.
Yeah.
So what are the pain points that a mom with an ADD kiddo is going to be Googling? Because this is what they're Googling, right?
Oh, 100%. And for those that didn't catch it yet, child with ADHD. So it could be anything from how do I get them out of the bed in the morning to why do they feel like they can't pay attention? What's wrong with their short-term memory to why all of a sudden does she seem depressed? What is happening? Especially I have a girl that's getting ready to go into the next stage of life for her. And of course that comes with lots of emotions. So the depression can be a piece of it as well. It's just really thinking about that person that walks into your office. So I can think of another client of mine that you are very familiar with that works with police officers and their wives. And what are those police officers coming in to your therapy office with a problem with? Like, that's what I want you to think about. Even if you do marriage counseling, what are they coming to you with the issues that they're Googling? I can't get my husband to listen to me. I can't get my husband to talk to me. Our sex life sucks. Like whatever it might be that you address in your office, those are the articles.
So you've answered my question that I was saving, which is, do you work with counselors? And yes, Jenny works with counselors. She speaks counselor. So she understands like SEO for our stuff that people are searching for. So is this a good time to talk about the call to action?
Yeah, we can definitely talk about the call to
Okay.
action. Absolutely. So when we talk about when you're saying the call to action, Kate, you're talking about when I talked about the idea of having an email and getting them onto your email.
Yep.
Yeah. And I can see you getting scared. And I get it because email for a lot of people seems like a techie thing. And you're talking to someone that's over 40 and techie things I hate. So I get it. But there are softwares as far as for email that will allow you to make it super easy. You have to have an email list. And I'm not talking about like they walk into your office and you put their name on a piece of paper. That's fine. You can still continue to do that. But if we want to do things bigger and better, we need to offer them something in exchange for their email when they are finding you online. When they find that article that is that is meant for the ADHD mom that has the child that's ADHD, she wants something that she can have an immediate kind of like fix for her issues. So if she has found you and she has come to you because she's looking for how do I get my kids started in the morning, you're going to provide them with potentially a guide that's going to show them here's 10 things that you can do. And here's an example of a chore chart that you could use in order to get them going. And you can, within that guide, when I say guide, it does not need to be more than 10 pages. This is something that you are simply making, for those that are unfamiliar, most of you I feel like will be familiar, is Canva. It is software, again, that you can use for free, that you create images. You can create this guide there, and it's simple and easy. And if you're getting overwhelmed, start with a checklist. One page, give them a checklist. You just want to give them something they feel like, I can do this. It gives them that sort of relief that, yes, I want to hear more from them. I want to hear what else they have for me to do. And that's why they're going to continually come back to your site, as well as come to you for your products and services.
So I'm the ADHD mom with the ADHD kid, which, by the way, I am. And I've got my guide and I'm looking at this branded guide, right? Because the guide's going to have the counselor's name on it, right? And how to get in touch with them. And I'm bonding with this counselor, right? I'm thinking like, oh, this person gets me. So whether I'm ready to book or not, I'm in a relationship with this person. At least it feels like it on my end, right?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And if you are, there's so many next steps that you can take where, I again want to emphasize the fact, I'm not trying to tell you shouldn't have people into your office. The people that are wanting to get in person are going to find you in your area. Like, that's just going to happen. Coming from experience, I found my therapist in person for my daughter, and there was no question of how I went about finding that. But what we're looking to do online is to diversify, have other ways that we can have income, so that we're not trading time for money, where you have to be in your chair, you have to be in the office having clients come through the door. Ideally, what we want to be able to do is make money in our sleep, even as a counselor. Offer a workshop that a mom can do at 9 o'clock at night that you charged her $19 for, and she went and did it, and you were sleeping at 9 o'clock. There's no reason you can't do that. And as long as and Kate's going to talk about all the ways to stay compliant as far as like your copy and things like that, but diversify. Look at ways that you don't have to, again, trade time for money by it being one-on-one.
Yeah, because you're going to get found. I mean, if you do the things that Jenny is talking about, you will get found. You will get full. You will have a waiting list. And that means, okay, now you've got these people on your waiting list. Or if they're not on your physical waiting list, they're hearing about you at the PTO meeting, and they're hearing about you at the Kiwanis Club meeting. And they're wanting more of you, the more pieces of you. And so this is something you've given away the guide. Then maybe they purchase the $19 course. They're with you. They're getting more of you, and you're diversifying. Like you said, I talk about the ethics of money, and I'll probably hit pause and talk a little bit more about that during the live webinar. But this idea of diversifying outside of the therapy room is so important. And so I'm glad you're mentioning that this means you aren't just seeing every client that walks through your door like a dollar sign, which there's a temptation to do, especially when things are slow.
Yes. No, it definitely gives you that ability to diversify. And like I said, I gave that example of another client that was a counselor. I can think of another one that works with women that struggle with their eating habits. And she's also no nutrition background, but she does the psychology behind it. Again, course, workshop, there's a need for it. Those people are searching for certain issues that they're having, and why not provide them with it? You have the degree, you have the experience. You're better. I think one of the things that I've noticed people will struggle with, even my counselors, is that they feel like, who am I the expert? They can go and do all their research, and it's going to be like a .edu, it's going to be a .gov, it's going to be a psychotherapy magazine. Or it's going to be the mom that's trying to share the information based on her own experience without the psychological background that you all have. So you need to speak up and walk them through things, because otherwise they could be going to someone that doesn't really have the background that you have, doesn't have the degree, doesn't have the education. So put it out there and solve those problems.
I love that. All right. So I don't know if this is the time for it, but I'm going to drop it in. Where does social media play into what you're telling us and teaching us about SEO and blogging and creating content?
Yes. So social media, I'm kind of known for saying this. Social media is rented property. You cannot build your entire business on social media. That's why we're talking about blogging and an email list first and foremost. Social media is an added way, it builds awareness. It is much more difficult to get someone to take action from social media. Social media, again, is going to put you out in front of them. When we talked about those 7 to 8 times, that's what social media helps do, because you can create content and then get found through social because you did something and it went viral. It was a reel, it was a TikTok, it was whatever it is. But people are less likely to take action as compared to your email and your blog. So when it comes to social media, I want you to think about, again, where are your people? If your people are 40 somethings, they're not on TikTok looking for information about their kid's ADHD. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I'm not there looking for that. I am looking to space out. I am looking for it to be entertaining. I do not want to have to go to TikTok to do research about my child. I might look on Facebook because, again, I'm that certain age, right? You got to think about the age of each platform. Facebook has an older audience. Instagram has like that probably 25 to 45, even 55 audience. And then you've got TikTok, who's just much younger. They are 14 and, well, probably younger than that. And all the way, probably like 25, I would say. So if you have an audience within there, like when we were talking about my other counselor that works with women who struggle with eating, she may have a younger audience. She's going to go to TikTok and do content there. It's deciding on starting with one platform, not all of them. Pick one that you know your people are going to be on and try to create consistent content. It is meant to repurpose what you are already doing for your blog content and your email content. It's not you're going over to social media and creating brand new content just for that to feed the beast. That has no purpose. And the other piece of social media is there always should still be a call to action. Every post that you do, tell them what they're supposed to do. That is the biggest mistake I see people make with social media. They get on just to kind of like introduce themselves, which is fabulous, but there's no way they're not telling them how to interact with them, whether it's to make a comment, whether it's to share, whether it's to hit you in the DMs with a question they may have, whatever it might be. You have to give them a call to action.
And that takes us back to the website that we're hoping is getting found because it's been optimized using SEO, right? I mean,
yes,
there has to be a place for them to go.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So social media, again, I hear counselors say, well, I need to get a social media manager. That's going to be my next big purchase. And I'm like, ooh, but wait, you need to put some content out there. So I like what you just said, because I want to circle to the pillars idea, because you have just kind of blown my mind in the past 6 weeks with how you can take an idea and chop and slice and dice it into these other things, because I get writer's block. I mean, I'm looking at this going, oh my gosh, how much more can I talk about what a supervision contract is? And then you taught me about the pillars and I'm like, oh, okay, there's my content. So, okay, talk to the counselor again, they're specializing in women with ADD kids under the age of 16. What are some content pillars that they can come up with to create that content for blogs and social media?
Yeah. So all content pillars are the main categories that you're going to talk about. So if we go back to that ADHD child, what is that mom searching for? One is definitely going to be getting started, getting moving to get them to do anything. It's like having a snail in the house. The other is likely going to be the inability to follow directions with attention, right? It's gonna feel like you're saying things 85 times. How do I get her to listen quicker? Maybe the third is going to be trouble in school and what that is going to entail. There's a whole other thing because now the mom isn't there, but there's obviously things going on in school that are a problem. So even if you have 3 content pillars, you can have 4. I wouldn't go more than 5 content pillars, but it's categories of topics based on a problem. So let's go back to that first category or pillar that I said with getting started. So now you don't have to just think about, like you talked about, we want to spider off of getting started for that child that has ADHD. Well, first we're going to talk about morning because that's obvious, right? Then we're going to talk about transitions from one thing to the next. Then we're going to talk about after school activities and what that might look like. And then we're going to talk about maybe the weekends and how there's no schedule and that child's mind just gets blown and they're an absolute disaster because of it. So within that one pillar of just like I was able to spit off four of you, four of them, you obviously as counselors could probably spit off 18 other ones. That's what you're looking for. What are the little pieces off of it that you could continue to develop? Because I want you to talk about morning routines. I want you to talk about transitions. I want you to talk about school. And I want, within that. So you're really starting to try to think about how can I fully answer this question? Because the problem is getting started. And that isn't limited to the morning.
Right. So you just basically filled out, someone who's watching this, you've just filled out their calendar for about 6 months if they're producing a weekly blog. I mean, that's a ton of content. And I didn't ask you before, about how long should a blog be?
It really depends upon answering the question. I have some posts that I would say are probably like maybe 750 words. And then I have other ones that are probably close to 5,000. It depends upon how much information you're going to provide them with. And it might be that you end up what we call a cornerstone piece of content, which is just the main category content pillar of getting started. And within that getting started article, you are linking to your article where you talked about the morning, where you talked about transitions, where you talked about after school, so that everything is seen almost as like a resource to everything else that they need to know about getting started. And that type of article is going to be much longer. Then it'll be like your 5,000 worder.
So the example I remember you giving me of cornerstone content was sourdough starter, right? Because my cohort of my coaching, where I go to group coaching, a lot of food bloggers, right? So this idea of I'm going to create a lot of recipes, but I'm going to use sourdough starter. And so the link for these articles that I'm going to write about, cinnamon rolls, or I'm going to write about how to do Thanksgiving biscuits, it's going to have sourdough starter in it, and it's going to link back to the sourdough starter, because the sourdough starter is my cornerstone content. So whatever your cornerstone content is, the ADHD mom, the ADHD kid, any article you write after that links back to that cornerstone content. That's optimizing, right?
Yes. And that is more high level, honestly. I'm not going, like, I feel like that's something that you and I have been really diving further into in probably the last 3 months even. Yep. And you were already ranking for things. So for those that are going, oh my God, what in the world is going on? There's so much information being thrown at me. Start basic. Start with those problems. And then as you continue to build out content, then you're going to be able to create that cornerstone concept piece, because you need all those other little tiny pieces off of it before you can get to the cornerstone anyways.
Okay. So let's back up then, because I know everybody understands ranking. So when you say that I'm ranking for something, I know that I'm ranking for online 40-hour LPC LMFT Supervisor Training in Texas. I know that I rank for Kate Walker Training. What do you mean when you say ranking for blank?
Yeah, so you're trying to come up first in Google. And for those of you listening and going, what? When you Google something, you want to be on the first page. You want to be in the first 10 suggestions that they give. You're often going to get beat out by anything.edu and anything.gov. That's just the way it is, because they have a higher domain authority because of it. But your ranking, you want to be in those first 10 suggestions made by Google. And we want to even get up as high as we can. Third, second, wherever we can get underneath those .edu and .gov. And you're trying to make, and the way in which you do that is answering all the questions that someone would have about that topic. And that's what Google is looking for. Are people staying on your page? And when they do that, that is a signal to Google that, hey, people feel like this is answering their question. It needs to continue to rank or move up in ranking.
Okay. So they write the blog that answers the question or addresses the pain point. The call to action is at the bottom and it's a click here or something like that.
Yep.
And the
Yes.
click will go to collecting an email or getting them to some sort of a guide or something like that. So this may sound really silly, but I know that there's a counselor out there thinking, so this link means they're going to email and blow up my inbox?
No.
Okay.
No, definitely. Good. I'm glad you thought that they would be thinking that. No, the link that we're putting in there, when I say we're trying to get them onto your email, all we're doing is giving you their email. So now you can start to send them regular emails when you create new content. So when you create that blog post about a morning routine, you can now email them and say, hey, struggling with getting your child started, there's a few tips that you need to know in order to get started. Find out more, and that clicks through the blog post. And then within that blog post, maybe you have a workshop or whatever it is that you can then offer them as a paid product. But when we're talking about email, they're not going to email you unless of course you want them to, which that's a different portion of your website, like your contact form. It's a whole nother story here. But you are getting their email in order to email them about what you offer.
Excellent. Okay, so hang on just a second. Let me see how I'm doing on time.
Mm-hmm.
What question am I not asking?
Oh, Kate, you threw me off with that one. I feel like we've answered a lot of the questions. Honestly, I think we've kind of we can go into a ton of depth. You've worked with me for 18 months and we continue to have things to talk about. So I think that is like a big piece of this, is that there's always ways to continue to develop. I will say, as far as the social media piece, pick one, test it out, pay attention to how others within your industry are using it to see what works. If you see another counselor has a reel that goes viral, that's relevant, not her complaining about her husband or complaining about the laundry not getting done, but is relevant to counseling and what you counsel about, look and see what it was that she did or how she went to go about doing it. Because social media is constantly changing. It is gonna feel like a hamster wheel. So putting it out there and just trying to get consistent with it is going to be key. But the first place you need to start is that blog content and writing that email.
Awesome. And if people want to ask you questions, how do you want them to tag you, connect with you?
Yes. So you can email me, jenny@jennymelrose.com. I'm happy to answer any questions. Or you can send me a DM on Instagram if you're more comfortable with that. My Instagram is @Jenny_Melrose. I do, like I said, I work one-on-one with clients. I also do group programs. And I also have courses that teach you, if you're looking for getting started on blogging, I have a course called Blog Like a Pro that walks you straight through it to really get started and confident with it. And then all different elements that you can add in with time.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate this so much. And I know you're going to get tagged and asked all the questions. And I'm going to get asked questions that I don't know the answer to. So I will bug you about those as well. And
Yeah,
we'll make
that's
sure
perfect.
to get all these counselors informed about how to get found in their communities to solve all those problems, because your community needs you. All right. This is Dr. Kate Walker, and I will hit pause and then talk to you in real life in just a second. I'm back. So the part that did not get recorded had to do with ranking and what that means. So I'm going to give you an overview. It was actually in response to a question from somebody in our audience, in our live audience. So the point of SEO, search engine optimization, is to make sure that you're giving folks who are searching the content that they're searching for. And so you hear folks like me talk about pain points. What are the pain points that the searcher has? That means that it will pop up with your content. So the example we used during the presentation, you heard Jenny talk about she has a child with ADHD, and then she also has ADHD. So we have an ADHD mom who's raising an ADHD kid, and she talked about some of the pain points that someone searching for resources might come up with, and it's not technical language. And so when you are ranking for a topic, like let's say your practice, you want to offer counseling to ADHD moms with ADHD kids. Well, you'll have things like, transitioning to football practice from school, or getting my kiddos started with their homework, or fighting my own tendency to be disorganized when I'm trying to organize my kids. And I just made all of those up. So as you produce content, or another word we use is copy, you can produce that content in a lot of different ways. You can do it as a blog post, and Jenny talked about blogging. The other thing is your website copy. So all of those things are searchable by Google. And then one of the things I showed our participant is, how do you know which is the best content or what people are searching for? There are things that you can purchase like Key Search or SEMrush, and you can pay to sort of look at how things are ranking. So if you were a food blogger, you might use something like Key Search to see who's searching for Creole sauce for meatloaf, something like that. Well, with mental health, especially if you're focusing on your area, you don't need to, I don't, in my opinion, you don't necessarily have to use those types of services. An easy way to do it is to open your phone, go to Safari, and Google ADH strategies for helping kids after school. And what will pop up are usually 5 to 6 topics, and they're bolded on the page. Of course, you'll see the websites that come up first or second or third, but then in about the middle of the page, Google has handed you a list of topics that folks are searching for. Well, you can write about those topics, and it's not hard to do because we have ChatGPT. So you can have your voice. You can, of course, go in and edit. This isn't, say, okay, ChatGPT, save my website, market my practice. But ChatGPT can be a huge lifesaver if you have writer's block. Because if you are blogging to create content so that you rank for ADHD moms who are raising ADHD kids, you're going to have to be very consistent. Google likes new content, and it wants you to have authority. So you heard Jenny talk about things like .gov, .edu. You probably won't be able to beat out those websites if you're just trying to do this very informational blog on what is ADHD. But if you're producing content that speaks to the pain point experienced by the person who's probably looking for you, then Google's going to be like, look, I found someone that I can hand to Jack over here, who is married to someone who is an ADHD mom who is got the majority of the household responsibility for getting the ADHD kiddo out the door to football practice every day. Or the ADHD mom, when she's scrolling, she will find your website if she's searching Google for that. So Google giving your content to folks who are searching is a key part of ranking, using ChatGPT, being consistent. Now, here's where the ethics come in, and I want to talk to supervisors. We are responsible for our associates' clinical activity. And you guys know that I do a training every year, usually twice a year or every time the rules change, when it comes to, making sure your paperwork is up to date. Every time, you check your paperwork, if you're a supervisor, if you have an associate who owns their own practice, you should be checking their paperwork as well. Well, if you watched the training this year, I added website copy to this. Because even though this isn't paperwork that someone signs, it is marketing material that they read. And it must be accurate and it must be ethical. What are the ethics around marketing? Well, you don't want to claim that you can do something that you can't do, or you have expertise in a thing you have no expertise in. So if you're a supervisor and your supervisee who owns their own practice, or perhaps they are working in a private practice where they're responsible for marketing themselves, you want to be sure you're looking at that copy. Remember, copy is just another word for content. And you're making sure that this supervisee of yours isn't making claims that they don't have that in their scope of practice. Or ChatGPT is doing all the work and you recognize, okay, I'm pretty sure this is a level 1 supervisee and they don't really have the capability to do these things, which I guess is the same thing as scope of practice. So the ethics for supervision, the ethics for marketing, those are the things as a supervisor you need to be sure you're tracking. So that's that's SEO for ranking. Another way to use content, though, isn't necessarily to rank on Google. The example I gave during the training was my practice, achievebalance.org. I worked for years with marketing my services to help couples surviving infidelity. And so I wrote 6-7 blogs related to that. So how to give an apology, how to set a boundary, what is a boundary, how do you know change is actually happening, those types of things. So couples who are interested in my counseling services, it was a nice it was kind of a segue or a nice way to get more of me and what they were getting in session outside of session. It was also a great way for potential clients to even decide if they liked me, because they could read the blogs, they could see where I was coming from. So if I was still marketing my practice today, I would probably add YouTube videos to that, because Google and YouTube, they're the same. So I would have a blog and then I might embed a video. So again, I'm not really looking to rank for what is a good apology. What I am doing, though, is I'm giving potential clients a taste of me, and they can decide if they like me. And I'm making sure, and this is so important, that I have a call to action. Call to action means you got to give them something to do when they're done consuming the content, reading it, watching it, right? For me, it was a 10-minute consultation, and I'm going to talk about this in the next portion of this training for you. You'll see me talk about having, for me, it was a 10-minute consultation. For you, it might be get on my email list, and I talk more about email as well. So blogs don't just have to be for you to rank for some topic or rank for some, and here's the term that we talked about, keyword, yes, but keywords, or you'll sometimes hear long-tailed keywords, right? That just means you're going to try to rank for word, ADHD, or a long-tail keyword, moms with ADHD raising ADHD kiddos, right? That's a long string of words, so we call those long tail keywords. So ranking means you want to be page 1. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're trying to just form a relationship, though, it kind of takes the pressure off blogging all the time or updating all the time, because if you have 6 to 10 solid blogs and they're searchable with a clear call to action, set a 10-minute consultation, get on my email list, something like that. That's a great way to use blog, and you have optimized your website for search engines. All right, that's the end of this portion. On to the next. There we go. Now we're recording. So I'll have to remind myself, Jennifer, help me remember to go back and record talking about what I just talked about. So email, we can get in hot water when we send out mass emails to clients. And you guys know what I'm talking about. This is like one of those reply all situations and everybody can see everybody's name. Also, when you have any sort of medium that holds onto PHI, protected health information, it must be HIPAA compliant. You must have a business associate agreement. Anything that's going to hang on to that client information. Okay. Now, having said that, when people click a button on my website, let's say somebody's going to go to Kate Walker Training, and let's just pretend it's Achieve Balance. So they're going to go to Achieve Balance and they're going to click a button. And I had a freebie on there. It was how to take your disability to college. And it was a PDF, just like 10 things for your freshmen to do when they get to campus to make sure that they're getting accommodations. And it was a checkbox, just like Jenny was talking about. Well, when they got that guide, they could opt into my email list. Okay. So when they're on my email list, they're not my client yet, right? I don't know them, right? I could have 1,000 people on this email list, but they're not my client. Now, if I want to send out more information, like, hey, I just got this update from the ADA office. There's a new law that's going to help so-and-so do this, easier. I can send that out to the email list. Now they're interacting with me, right? Because they're opening their email. And how many times have they seen me now? What did Jenny say? It has to be 7 or 8 times. I don't know what it is, but somebody's got to be in front of you. So email is one way. It is not the only way. You don't have to have an email list. The idea is to, once you have that copy out there, once you have that content, folks are going to want more of you. Now, for me, I wanted the 10-minute consultation. I didn't want them on an email list. I didn't want to have to keep up with all that. I wanted them to schedule a 10-minute consultation so they could hear my voice. And I could remember there are only 2 choices. They're either going to become my client or they're going to be a raving fan who recommends me to colleagues and friends. Right? So ask me questions about that. I mean, because you do have to have them do something after they've interacted with your content. Should I ask you how you feel about that? Is that happy, sad, mad, afraid, surprised?
So I'm going to ask a question. So once they accept that you're on to be on your mailing list, that pretty much makes it then HIPAA compliant, that they're giving that permission for you to put them on the mailing list?
So they can't really give you permission to, I mean, they can give you permission, right? When you hit confirm, that's saying, okay, this isn't spam. This person got me legitimately. I'm now, in their circle and I gave them permission. I can unsubscribe at any time. That's great. That fulfills one set of laws, if the Federal Trade Commission or something like that. But we are under HIPAA, which is the protected health information and making sure that their identity is protected. So I can't give you guys a firm answer as to potential clients, right? If you've got 3,000 people on your email list and you're not sure which one of those are actual clients, right? Then you would say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and make this a non-HIPAA compliant email. I'm going to make sure that I'm not sending out information that would identify any of these people, right? Like your client list, right? That's the only thing I can think of that you would email out, right? That would be protected health information. Because when you use something like, let's say MailChimp, and you're sending out a mass email, nobody else is going to know who's getting that email. Right? And if there's a breach, well, they're going to break into this and they're just going to see a bunch of emails. They're not going to know what it's for, what it's I mean, it's not going to have any context related to mental health or, but again, I'm not an attorney. I don't play one on TV. So for me, if counselors want to use email that is not HIPAA compliant for marketing purposes, just make sure that you're using something like a mail kit or a convert kit or something like that, where the email is completely separate from any kind of correspondence that you would normally do, like your Gmail account, something going back and forth. Like when I use ConvertKit, and this is for non-clinical activity, this is for my Kate Walker training, it is outgoing only. I mean, you guys can hit reply and it comes back to our support email, but that's not how we're communicating back and forth. That's to give you guys updates on rules. That's to let you know when another webinar is coming out. That's to know when you can get access to things that you have expressed interest in. But like I said, if you hate email, then you don't do email, right? If you give them something for coming and interacting with your content, a free guide, a checklist, something like that, give them a 10-minute consultation. Or this is what I'm actually going to talk about next month or the next couple of months. I love the idea of counselors creating a course. Like if you had just a 30-minute course on whatever your population is, like let's say mine was couples who are high conflict, I'm going to give them a 30-minute course on the Imago communication exercise. Right? I'm just going to give them a little rundown, maybe do a little role play and say, you know what, even though you're not coming in to see me right now, or you haven't made the phone call yet, here's something you can do in the meantime. Well, guess what they're doing for that 30 minutes on that course? They're interacting with me. And I know Jenny was saying like, okay, that can be a stream of income. Honestly, I look at it more as a marketing tool. I look at it more as you're building this relationship with somebody who will eventually be on your client roster. Questions about that?
I just have a technical question. What do you think is the easiest course platform to use?
YouTube. Yeah,
Really? I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
YouTube is absolutely the easiest way to make a course. It's
Wow.
if you create an unlisted video, it's unlisted. I mean, you can't find it. And YouTube plays nicely with Google because it is Google. So if you've got your blog and you're like, hey, click here and you can get access to 10 ways to do play therapy with your kiddo before you come to counseling, or 10 things you need to do before you come to your first play therapy session. This 15 minutes course, and they click the button and they do a little email register, confirm, and then boom, there they are. They're looking at your face as you talk to them about 5 things they should do before they come to their first play therapy session.
Fantastic. So, and you could put slides up if you wanted to, because you'd just be recording your screen.
Yeah,
if you wanted to have
Zoom. Yeah, this is Zoom and sharing your screen and sharing your PowerPoint. And there are fancier things out there, but gosh, it works pretty well. And then if you want to sell the course, sure. The platform I use is Podia. And so if you want to, and there's actually, if you're in the Step It Up group, there is a course that is online courses. And actually I made it. So I did it, I think last year, just how to create an online course. And I walk you through how I put a course on Podia, but it's super easy, you guys. If you do the video and then, I mean, you think about what a course is, right? So for you guys here, the webinar, I don't have to have a quiz. But if I give it to you asynchronously, I'll come up with 5 questions and give you a certificate at the end, right? But you don't have to do that for parents, right? Or your potential.
True. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? We have a few minutes left. Then I apparently am hosting a happy hour down in the lobby at 7 o'clock.
I want to go back to your email comment of using like a converter kit or something to that effect.
Yep.
Do you just recommend just go ahead and set that up so it's linked to your website? That way, if you host like an email address or something like that for your actual business with your real clients, that they're not even intertwined.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. If you are going to use email for marketing, have a completely separate system if you also use email for communicating. Thank you for saying that. I think that made it very clear. Yep.
Mhm.
And I've used MailChimp before, which I did not love. The system I use now is called ConvertKit, and it seems to play nicely with everything else that I use, which is part of, I preach systems, you guys. I mean, everything has to work seamlessly. I don't like to touch things over and over and over again. So just I'm going to wrap it up. So SEO is all about ranking. Yes, absolutely. Getting on page 1, but it's also about Google handing your content to the people who are searching for it. Okay. So it can't hand your content to people if you don't make any. And it doesn't have to be long. I mean, literally 600 to 900 words. And if you have writer's block, use ChatGPT, right? Get the wheels kind of turning with that. So if you're using SEO to rank, you're going to want to probably put out a blog a week, be consistent with it. But if you're looking for blogs like I did back in the day, just to kind of form a relationship with people and have a call to action to, let's say, a 10-minute consultation, then you just want, this is my opinion, I would say 5 to 10 blogs that really speak to those problems that people are looking for. And imagine then you're going out and you're speaking to the PTO and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to send you, Joanne, that's a great question. I'm going to have you go to my blog and here's the link. The QR code is right here. Check out this blog and it's going to talk about transitions after school to football practice. Right? So anything you talk about out in the community, you're going to be able to send people back to your website because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get people to come back and back and back and back. And that's going to build that domain authority. Then you'll start ranking. All right, guys. I got to wrap it up. Any other questions?
I just want to say thank you. I think I got a lot more clarity when you spoke than Jenny spoke.
Yay.
Thank you.
Just want to say that because you really created those bullet points and summarized. I think I got a lot more. You were right on the dot of everything.
Well, excellent. I'm glad. Thank you. And if you guys are in the Step It Up group, come to the training on Tuesdays and ask me questions. We can really drill down into this stuff. I'm happy to talk about it more.
Yes, thank you.
All right, guys. Have a wonderful
Thank you.
Thank
Be
you.
well.
I'm going to
Bye.
happy hour. Bye.